Alright, so last week we talked about actually getting your first dead hang. This week we're going to talk about making that transition from that basic level of strength into learning the kipping pull-up. Okay? But it's important to note that the first dead hang pull-up comes first. Right? We need to have that basic strength so that we can control what we're doing with kipping pull-up. So again, Stephanie's going to be our model. Right? She's going to show us some of the progressions that we use in our group classes to kind of first learn how to do the kipping pull-up. The first thing is we're going to take the hollow and arch, which we learn on the floor, and we transfer to things like the handstand. We're going to do the hollow and the arch on the bar. So Stephanie's going to show us how to do the hollow in isolation and then the arch in isolation. So first let's do the hollow, okay? So it's important that you start from a nice straight hang, right? In the hollow, go Steph, right? The belly button's pulled away from the center line, right? As a consequence, the toes come up, the shoulders shrug back and away, which is great, right? But it's important to note it is not a hip flexion, okay? You're not trying to kick the leg up, you're not trying to raise the feet. If you do, you're going to mess up your swing later, okay? The second piece is the arch. Starts the same way, nice dead hang, toes pointed straight down into the bar, okay? So if you start off with like too much swing, make sure you stop yourself before you go. All right, arch for us, 3 to 5 times now, good. The arch is the same thing. We're going to get the belly button and the torso out front, okay? But there's also a tendency here to sort of hyperextend the hip or the lumbar, sort of overarching and reaching the feet back. Okay? That can be really stressful as well. And it can also displace your center of mass too far behind the bar. Okay? So again, if you kick too far forward with the legs or you swing too far back with the leg, you're going to get your center of mass too far in front of or behind the bar, and it's going to mess up your swing. Okay? So speaking of the swing, Stephanie's going to get on the bar, she's going to start a dead hang, no rocking, then she's going to go arch and hollow in an alternating fashion to create that horizontal swing. Okay, this is a lot easier to do. As you can see, she's moving a little faster, and it's taking a little less work to keep her moving. Okay? Now you can also see she's stopping around the 5th rep. Okay? Each one of these techniques is going to cause a lot of wear and tear on your hand. Okay? So there's a limited number of repetitions you can do, especially like throughout a training day, okay? So if you're going to devote like 30 minutes of kipping pull-up, keep the quality high and the sets very short, okay? Don't do 20 or 30 reps at a time. You're just going to tear up your hands, all right? So now it's time for us to make the transition from actually doing the swing to building upon it with the hip pop. That's going to actually move your center of mass forward and up towards the bar. That hip pop takes place at the back of the hollow. Steffi is going to get on the bar and do an alternating swing, okay? Nice, smooth, horizontal swing. And at the back of every hollow, she's going to put a little crisp hip pop, okay? She's not going to go anywhere, she's just going to mark the beat, okay? So start the beat, Stephanie, and then mark those hollows with a little pop. Swingy, okay. Good. That's actually really good. Okay, she's got that little pop, and she's got a little float, okay? So now we've got the rhythm figured out, we know where to place that hip pop. The next step is to pop so hard that you move your center of mass at least half of the way up towards the bar. Okay, if you can do that, we can finish the second half with the traditional arm pull like any other pull-up would be. Okay? Now, as we know from last week, Stephanie's 1 rep max in the dead hang pull-up is below body weight. Okay? So her 1 rep max in the kipping pull-up is probably going to be below body weight as well. It's going to be difficult for her to actually do a kipping pull-up at body weight. So now we're going to take the next step, which is to string up a band. We've already got one prepared. So Stephanie's just going to pull that out to the midline, okay? And we're going to go to that next step, which is going to be going from marking the pop to actually making the pull-up happen, okay? So the way we're going to try it first is 1 single rep at a time. So Stephanie's going to get her foot in the band. This one's about 25 pounds, okay? So this is like maybe 5 to 10 pounds less than her 1 rep max in a dead hang. What she's going to be doing, okay, is she's going to arch into the band. She's going to hollow away from the band, pop the hips, and then do the pull-up. Go for it, Steph. Oh, good. All right, go ahead and relax. So she just barely made it, okay? But she made it, okay? And that's one way to learn how to do the kipping pull-up, okay? The other way to do it is kind of what we call sort of the back door, okay? This is a sort of reverse method where we're going to start with the dead hang pull-up. We're going to get your chin way up over the bar. Once you've got a nice, like kind of chest to bar sort of pull-up position, we're going to do a chest pass away from the bar. The goal is to lock out the elbows before you really start falling. You push away hard, you get behind the bar. When you start to fall, you can only fall down and forward. It just throws you into the next arch, okay? If that happens, you know where you're going to go, to the hollow, to the pop, and to the pull-up, okay? So Stephanie's going to go up, do the dead hang, she's going to push away, okay? So we're going to start our first kipping pull-up with a dead hang. Oh, nice, good. Now you see similar results maybe a little higher actually, right? So she's got that big pre-stretch, kind of throwing her into the pull-up. It's kind of easier to get that first good pop out of the hollow from an experience like that where you go flying into it, okay? The next step is basically to figure out how to do multiple repetitions in a row, and that basically comes from practice. So Stephanie's going to demonstrate an attempt here to get at least 3 to 5 going here in a row. So she's going to pop up, she's going to get a good pull-up going, she's going to try and do more. Go for it, Steph. Good. You got to push away. All right, good. So this is a really common beginner's mistake, right? So she's making the distance, she's getting up the height on the bar, but then there's no push off and she just falls like a dead weight, okay? Not only is this inefficient for setting up your next swing, but it can actually be injurious to the shoulder joint, okay? So if you've been around CrossFit for a little while, you probably know somebody who's had a slap tear. One of the reasons this happens is because of the horizontal swing and the butterfly swing put a lot of stress on the shoulder joint when you just plummet, okay? So we work really hard to get pushing off the bar, both for improved efficiency as well as reduced potential for injury. So Steph, we're going to reattempt that, okay? What we're going to do on the next one is we're going to start off the backwards way. We're going to go up to the pull-up bar, we're going to dead hang pull-up, and we're going to push away hard and fast, okay? And I want you to remember that sensation of just getting behind the bar and falling away from it, okay? And you commit to that push. Good. Good. Keep pushing. Keep pushing. Okay, so that was like 3.5, right? 3 really good ones. 4th one was a little questionable. Maybe the judge needs to be a little taller, okay? But a much better result than the first time around. So for Stephanie's case, actually starting above the bar and doing the push-off thing actually helps her really set her up for that second rep. In reality, if we want our practice to improve our technique, we want the technique results during practice to be as good as possible. So I think the better method for Stephanie today is probably to do the push off. That way when she practices, she'll practice with good technique. Later on, as she becomes more proficient, she's probably going to be able to skip that step, do the arch, do the pop, and get up. But I've noticed this with a lot of athletes as they make that transition from no kips to their first few, that do a dead hang and push off thing really works great. Which is really convenient if you're a fit guy and you can already do some dead hangs when you walk in the door, but can be a little bit of a frustration if you're a beginner and you can't do a dead hang pull-up yet. So I know this sounds kind of ass backwards, but work on your dead hang. All right, so the first step in pull-up day is chalking your hands. There's always excess powder in the bottom of the bucket. I think it's really economical to just grab that stuff and just cake it all over the top end of the hand, okay? Now notice, I'm going from like that first line up into the fingers. That's all I really need to chalk, because that's all my point of contact with the bar is really going to be. Okay? When I go and I grab this bar, this is not easy per se, okay? This is going to require more grip endurance, but I'm going to grab with the fingers, not with the palm. I'm going to grab with the fingers. If I grab with the palm, right, all that stuff that folds, can you come down, Stephanie, and see my hand? All that stuff that folds up is going to get caught on something. The progression is going to go from trying to figure out how to get that first push off to lead to the second kip, and then to go from 2 to 10 or 20 or 50, okay? Once you get smooth, hopefully things will look a little bit like this. The goal is going to be to establish, early on, how many repetitions you can do in a row with a good clean technique and an unbroken set, okay? And, hopefully it'll be between 5 and 15 or so once you get the technique down. Once you've established that, we can work our way up towards more. La ilaha illallah.